Every year, I like to do a video reading the winners of the Goodreads Choice Awards to put them to the test. And this year is no different, apart from the fact it is much later than usual. Today, we're going to be reading the Goodreads Choice Awards winners 2025. I like to do this video. I do a video in November where I read the top 10 nominees for the mystery thriller category, because obviously that's my main genre. But I read pretty much every genre. And so I like to put to the test, you know, how good are the books that win the Goodreads Choice Awards? Are they just kind of popularity contest books? Are they just winning because an author's been popular in the past? Are they just winning because it's blown up on TikTok? Or do they actually deserve to win? Is there some quality there? So yeah, today, we're going to be reading the winners of the Goodreads Choice Awards. But before we get into the video, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is June's Journey. I am so excited for this. You guys know, a lot of you guys will know at least, that I love playing phone games, particularly when I'm listening to audiobooks. You need something to do with your hands. And June's Journey is one of my favorites. So this is a dream come true sponsorship. I'm very excited to tell you about June's Journey because I think it's a great phone game, particularly for when you're listening to audiobooks. I love June's Journey because of the vibes. It is a hidden object mystery game set in the 1920s, and it's got a gripping story, a gripping detective story. June is trying to find out so many things, and it's got a really immersive world. It's got beautiful art, beautiful scenes. I love it. And the game has a lot of varied elements. So you've got the hidden object scenes, which are testing your observational skills, how good a detective you are. You've got this island that you can decorate. So that's like a really creative element. As you go through the game, you can decorate your island more and more. And there are also special events where you get unique rewards throughout the year, like seasonal content. So yeah, I find that June's Journey is the perfect thing to relax with an audiobook. I find it very relaxing. Also, I love going up the levels. I find a great satisfaction in going up each of the levels. So you guys can now download June's Journey for free by either scanning the QR code or going to the link down below in the description. June's Journey is available on iOS and Android smartphones and tablets, as well as on PC. And also I have something else very exciting to tell you. Sorry, Deidre is trying to mess with the camera, so you gotta come here. You put in trying to play with the camera jail. Another exciting thing that I'm so excited about, guys, this is perfect. This is literally made for me. June's Journey is expanding their world with a mystery novel, a murder mystery whodunit novel. They're bringing out a book. They're bringing out a June's Journey book. Murder mystery. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Set in Paris in the 1920s. What a vibe. Paris in the 1920s, come on. June's close friend Jack is being framed for a murder of, I think, another one of their close friends. They've traveled to Paris for a wedding. And yeah, Jack's being framed for murder and she knows he didn't do it. So she has to find out who the real killer is. And she gets embroiled in this corrupt web of Parisian old money, politics, dark secrets. Oh, it sounds so good. It sounds like a classic whodunit. Can you believe it? Phone game X murder mystery is literally made for me. I know a lot of you who watch this channel love cozy mysteries, particularly like with a historical element, Paris in the 1920s, and it's a great way to pair one of my favorite phone games with reading, with a novel. Maybe I'll actually listen to the audiobook of this when it comes out whilst playing June's Journey. So I'll also leave the link down below to pre-order the novel. I'm gonna be pre-ordering it. So yeah, thank you so much again to June's Journey for sponsoring this video. Great phone game, coming out with a novel, a murder mystery novel. I cannot wait. Make sure you check out it all via the links down below. Now, normally at the start of this video, I have a clip where I react to the winners, like I find out what they are. I delete that clip by accident.
The level of unprofessionalism, far too much.
And at the start of that clip, I said, if Alchemist wins or Onyx Storm wins, I will not be reading them. They won. I will not be reading them. I set out that stipulation before I even saw what won. Onyx Storm, because I have read Fourth Wing, but I have not read, is it Iron Flame, the second one? And so I would not know what the heck is going on throughout that entire book. And Alchemized, I'll let you figure that out. I'm not reading that book. I'm not reading that book. I'm not reading that book.
No one's reading that book.
I'm also not going to be reading Sunrise on the Reaping in this video because I've not read any Hunger Games book ever. And I've heard great things about Sunrise on the Reaping, and I think I'd be doing a disservice to read it, having never read a Hunger Games book. But I may be reading it some point later this year. We'll talk about that at a later date. So, we have 5 books to read in this vlog. Fake Skating by Lynn Painter, which won YA Fiction, I think it is. My Friends by Frederick Backman, which won Contemporary. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which won Fantasy. The Compound by Aisling Raw, which won Sci-Fi. And How to Kill a Witch, A Guide for Patriarchy by Claire Mitchell and Zoe Venditozzi, which won... I always forget the non-fiction names. Historical non-fiction? History and biography? One of them. So yeah, we're reading these 5 books in this vlog. Putting them to the test, whether I think they deserve to win or not. I may also throw a bonus book in this vlog. We'll talk about that at a later date. There is a bonus book that I may chuck in. But yeah, join me. It's really Goodreads Choice Awards winners. I think this is always a really fun video to do. I could not do it this year. I don't know what I'm going to start with, but I'll chat to you once I've made a decision. Hello. First book, guys. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. My patrons told me I should start with this, and so I did. And I am halfway through. I'm halfway through this book. I'm really enjoying it. I am really enjoying it. So, the plot of this, we are following... For the first half of the book, it's only been 2 timelines. In the front, there are 3 listed. But for the first half, it's been 2. I am now figuring out how it's going to become 3. I am glad they are not equal. They are not fighting for page space, which is what my issue with split timelines is. Our main timeline starts off following Maria in Spain, I think, somewhere, as she's kind of married off in the 1600s and expected to be this, you know, wilting flower of a wife and provide babies for her husband. And listen, she ain't gonna do that. And she finds a way to get out of that that pact that she signed.
Women's stories matter.
Yeah. Right.
They just matter.
They do. And
We're also following a little bit of Alice in 2019, I think. Yeah, 2019, Boston, who is a university student finding herself and exploring life. And that's all I'm going to say. I think this book, you don't want to know too much going into it, other than I knew going into it, it's sapphic vampires, and I feel like that enhances the reading experience somewhat. I feel like it's fine to go into it knowing it's sapphic vampires. And the first, 100 pages of this, I was like, is this my first 5-star of the year? I'm yet to have a 5-star yet in 2026. I've had 3 4.5s. I fear this may become another one. But for those first 100 pages, I felt like it was going to be 5 stars. But now I do feel like the book could have been tightened up just a little bit. There hasn't been moments where I've been bored, but I just feel like it's quite a long book. It's like an 18-hour audiobook. It's over 500 pages. I do think it could have been made just a little bit tighter. It could have been cut down to 400 pages rather than 500, 420 pages. So yeah, now I'm not so sure about whether it's going to be 5 stars, but I am still very much enjoying it. There is something about V.E. Schwab's writing that is... She's just got it now. I remember feeling like this when I read Addie LaRue, and I feel like even more now. It's watching a master work at their craft. She's not messing about. She is not messing about anymore. There is no hesitancy. There is no being unsure. There's no doing things by half measures. She's gonna do what she came to do, and she's gonna do it fully, and you're gonna eat it up. It feels just so accomplished. It feels like someone who has been honing their craft for years and years and years and years, and it just her writing. Particularly, I was glad that we spent a lot of time in the book with Maria, because I feel like the writing in her sections particularly had this old-timeness, had this classicalness to it, had this lyricalness, had this beauty, had this lushness that I just adore. And listen, I am so here for a vampire comeback. I am so here for it. I think it's time. I think I've had enough of dragons. I've had enough of Fae. Oh, Fae is so old news to me. Fae never got on my radar, but it's old news. I want vampires to be the new thing. Vampires are sexy. Vampires are dark. Vampires are a perfect metaphor for so many things in life. There's a lot of depth to the myth of a vampire that I don't feel like there is for some of these other fantasy things, and I want more vampires. So
give it to me now!
I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna try and get as close to being finished tonight as I can. I've got to go make dinner, and I'm gonna keep listening to a bit of this, but yeah. Okie dokie. I have finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I'm giving this 4 stars. Here's the thing. I think there's more that I love about this book than some books I've given 4.5 lately, but it also has issues. It has some bigger issues that I feel like other books I've given 4.5 haven't had. Everything I've said stands. I think this is a wonderful book. I think V.E. Schwab is an incredible, accomplished author. It's the kind of book that makes you want to read. It's the kind of book that makes you want to write. It's the kind of book that makes you love books, right? It is all of that. It very much reminds me of Addie LaRue. I think it's closest to Addie LaRue out of all of her books. I think if you enjoyed Addie LaRue, you would enjoy this. And I like that route for her. I just think, V.E. Schwab's just a great author. She's just a great author. However, it is too long. It is too long.
You may not hold the space for me, and that's okay. But that's a hill I'm gonna fucking die on.
It could be edited. And I feel like my 4 is maybe leaning a bit harsh and maybe like a 4.25 and I'm rounding down to rounding up because this is my message to V.E. Schwab. This is my V.E. Schwab if you're out there. I don't want her to become the kind of author that doesn't edit or get edited. There are some authors that I think, and I think others agree, that become so big, become so popular, like Stephen King is a great example, that they have too much control over their books. I think they need someone telling them to cut it up, to edit, babes, edit. I think sometimes when authors get so big, the publisher, the editors kind of get a bit intimidated and don't want to tell them what to do, and they get more agency and get more control. And V.E. Schwab, I just think it could have been a bit tighter. There were just points in the pacing where it could have been tighter. And here's the thing, this book is doing a lot. There's a lot going on in this book. And I love everything that's going on, but it was almost too much. Like, there were points where 15 pages, something happened, or there was kind of interactions between characters that I could have read a whole book about, right? But they're just short little nuggets. And I don't want it to go into more detail because there's a lot of detail going on already. But there were points that could have been explored more fully. And there's a lot of character relationships that we are examining quite deeply in this book. And I'm not sure if it kind of bit off a little bit more than it can chew. Yeah, on the whole, I do think this deserved to win fantasy. I think it's a great fantasy book. Well, here's the thing, it is a fantasy book, obviously, it's vampires, but all the fantasy kind of like revolves around vampireness and vampire rules and vampire abilities. But the rest of the book is really just about these character relationships. It's really just a character study. And I think it was a really, really good version of that. This is a solid book. This is a really solid book. Like, I feel like most people could pick this up and enjoy it. I think it has broad appeal. I think it has appeal to, like, there's certain fantasy books on the list that probably only fantasy readers are going to read, like a Brandon Sanderson, right? I know he's like one of the biggest fantasy author ever, but like, he is for fantasy readers, whereas this is the kind of fantasy that is digestible to other people. You know, people who read historical could like this. People who read kind of like mysteries, I think, could enjoy this. People who like romances. This is a story of not romance. It's not a romance. Don't get it twisted. But it's a story of love and longing and lust, and that's really the driver of the plot. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It's, you know, V.E. Schwab. I'm here for it, babes. I'm here for your releases coming out this year. I'm here for it. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a great time with it, but it is bloated. It's bloated. Cut it, babes. Cut it. Get a new editor. One who'll actually tell you to cut it, because it could have been cut. Next, I'm going to read How to Kill a Witch by Claire Mitchell and Zoe Venditozzi. I've got reading sprints tonight, my patrons. I am hoping to get through this bad boy at quite a speed. Well, no, not a speed, but I'm hoping to do a lot of reading this afternoon and evening. I'm really excited about this. This is my kind of non-fiction, as we know. I think this book is going to be everything that I wanted In Defense of Witches to be. So I'll discuss that more once I've read it. I don't know if I'll check in halfway or if I'll just read the whole thing. We'll see. But yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. Hello, next book for the vlog finished. It was a pretty short one, so I just read the whole thing. How to Kill a Witch, A Guide for the Patriarchy. Again, I can't remember the right category. Non-fiction, history and biography, I think it is. And this is a history book, particularly about the witch trials in Scotland in like the 1600s. Very specific lens, which I do enjoy. I do enjoy a book, you know, going in like, this is what we're going to talk about. Not just the witch trials in Scotland. It does talk about other things. It talks about present day things. It talks about how women are still on trial for being witches, and this kind of like patriarchal system that encourages like women to behave certain ways. And also what I thought was particularly compelling is like how much of the the witch trials in Scotland were done through the legal system, right? Through like the official legal system, and how everyone thinks they were like, you know, a band of mobs like from the village coming to attack women. No, it was like through the legal system that existed at that time, and if it can happen then, it can happen again. If you get a certain kind of government in who have a certain kind of view on women, a certain kind of view on women's rights, like this kind of thing can happen again. But yeah, it's particularly done with a historical lens, which I do enjoy. I love women X history. I'm giving this 4 stars. It maybe is leaning a bit towards 3.5, but I'm feeling generous. In terms of its content, I think it's incredibly interesting, incredibly powerful often. I particularly like the ending, the kind of last chapter, I feel like was talking about how this can happen again very easily. You know, it made me very scared about the rise of some right-wing rhetoric and parties that we're seeing here in the UK. It makes me petrified. And I loved like the historical detail, and I loved, you know, we were talking about real women examples. That's also something I look for in my historical nonfiction. I spoke about this before, how like I like a personal example of women that stuff like this has happened to. However, the way that was often written in this book was you'd have like a non-fiction chapter talking about the history, and then you'd have a fictional like diary entry from an accused woman or from like a witch hunter that was involved. So these little like fictional excerpts. And I think that's quite ambitious. And I'm not sure, sometimes I think that threw me off a little bit. And I think that's why my rating is like a 4, maybe leaning towards 3.5. I'm not sure the structure of the book always worked for me. I love the idea of that, but I think you can tell that these are podcasters who have written a book, not career writers. And I don't mean that as a dig. I mean, the audiobook is great because they're obviously great speakers, great orators, and so they read the audiobook wonderfully. But I think, yeah, it was a little ambitious for people maybe who haven't I mean, I don't know if they've written a ton. Maybe they've written loads of books and I just don't know. But I know that like they're famous because of a podcast that they do. And so yeah, I just think some of the writing didn't do it for me. And for me, I know some people in their nonfiction, it's all about the content, it's all about the information and how that is portrayed, but writing is a big thing for me. Whether I vibe with your writing or not is a huge determinant in whether I enjoy a book. And I love the writing in this, you know? But yeah, so I mean, 4 stars is pretty good. I would recommend this if you're interested in learning about witch trials, the origins of witch trials, the way that they worked, kind of like step by step, you know, how you accuse them, how you bring them to trial. All of that I think was incredibly well researched, and like I say, some really powerful examples. But it doesn't, you know, I don't know if it's going to stick in my brain as like, this is something I have to recommend to everyone. However, this one, obviously history and biography, and 4 stars, I think, like, you know, it's a worthy winner, right? It's talking about something that I obviously think is very important, women.
Women.
4 stars is not a bad rating. However, we are going to put this to the test more than we are in other categories, because I am also going to be reading, as a little bonus in this vlog, the book that came second in this category, Jane Austen's Bookshelf by Rebecca Romney. This is a book that I think I saw on Twitter at the start of last year. Like, sometimes I see on Twitter books being advertised. I'm like, oh, that is to me. And so I was very happy when it made it to Goodreads Choice Awards, because it was already on my TBR at that point. I feel like it's one of those books that I took from start to finish. You know, I feel so like I shouted you out back before anyone knew about you. And obviously I love Jane Austen and I love women history, and this book is all about the women authors that Jane Austen would have been reading, would have been inspired by, existed at the same time. And I'm reading this for my Patreon book club. My Patreon book club live show is this weekend. So I thought this came second. I've got another vlog to put this in, and I'm sure a lot of you want to know my opinion on this. So we're going to throw it in as a little bonus. So we are going to be reading first and second, the history and biography. So I can't wait to start this. My Patreon, I feel like this is the best reception we've ever had to a book club pick ever. Like, the people are loving it. The people are loving it. So I will check with you a little bit the ways through. This is obviously a bonus book, and it's a book that I would have vlogged in quite detail if I'd read it. So I'm going to do that anyway. But yeah, I can't wait to get into it. Can't wait to see what I think of it. So I'll let you know my thoughts on a little ways through. But I literally can't wait to devour this. Like, I'm so excited. Okay, good morning. I fear we need to talk. I couldn't wait to talk to you about this book. Okay, I'm about 100 pages in. I'm 116, 17 pages into Jane Austen's Bookshelf by Rebecca Romney. This book is written from the perspective of a rare book collector, as she has this love of Jane Austen and she endeavours to kind of find out about the women authors that inspires Jane Austen, that kind of history is forgotten, and she's taking us through them one by one and kind of telling their stories. But also a huge part of this is her job as a rare book collector and things she loves about books, or the history of books, or the history of the literature landscape and how it shifts. And
I'm obsessed.
I am loving it. I'm loving it already. I wanted to come chat to you about it. So I've read the chapters on Jane Austen. There's a short one on Janie, my girl. Then we have Frances Burney and Anne Radcliffe are the authors I've read about so far. Ooh, it's fascinating. I'm having so much fun reading it. I am loving finding out more about these women. I already think I need to like read a book from every woman who is listed in this. I think that might be like my new mission, is to read a classic from each of these women, because she is reading them for the first time in the kind of the course of writing this book. And the way she's describing them just sounds so fascinating. And at the end of the day, Janie loved them too. These are authors like Pride and Prejudice is a reference to a line in one of Frances Burney's books, or in Northanger Abbey, there's a whole section talking about one of Anne Radcliffe's books and how much the characters are loving it. And so knowing that Jane Austen loved these books makes me so interested in reading them, and I'm loving the authorial voice in this. Oh my gosh, the way this is written is for me like a real comparison point between How to Kill a Witch, which in essence was a really good book, but I didn't love the writing style. The writing style in this, it feels like I'm having a chat over a cup of tea and a cake at like a little cafe with someone who really knows her shit. That's a huge part of it as well. I love books where, or any media really, I watch a lot of like YouTube about different things, different niches, where people are obsessed, like deeply unhealthily obsessed with their things. Like I love Hot Lamode on YouTube because he knows about fashion. Or I love watching like really niche Nancy Drew content, not just because I love Nancy Drew, but like people who love Nancy Drew, or like For Your Amusement podcast with Ryan and Byron, like talking about how they're theme park sickos. Like I love when people's almost unhealthy obsession with something comes through.
The obsession that I got with it was borderline unhealthy. I don't know how I'm going to integrate in society after this.
And you see that with her love for book collecting, and I'm finding the kind of the world of rare book collection that she's also exploring through this so fascinating. She's definitely weaving them, right? The narratives of these women, the narratives of their lives, and her job. She's weaving them together in such an incredible way. Guys, it's a slay. It's a slay. It talks a lot about the canon, like the kind of literary canon that's been established over time, and how that is particularly based around men and kind of women. These great female authors over time were seen as not as worthy of being part of that canon, and that's kind of how they got lost to history. And I really think it makes me feel like, you know, my refusal to read not refusal, my preference for reading like particularly like female fantasy authors. There's not a lot of male fantasy authors I read predominantly female. Like that's really a feminist stance. I'm really like revolutionary feminism right there.
She's a feminist icon.
I'm finding it fascinating. I'm basically just going to read most of this today. I'm just so excited to curl up with this book and just get completely engrossed with it. I don't know if I'll check in with you about the 2/3 mark or if I will just read this entire book. We will see, but it's so well written. It's so fascinating. I love reading about women that history has forgotten, and it makes me quite emotional. Like these women did incredible work, and they deserve to be put up in the halls of history as much as any men, as much as Percy Shelley, as much as Lord Byron. Like Anne Radcliffe should be up there with them. It really reminds me of when I was touring sixth forms. I've told the story a few times. I was touring sixth forms. I was thinking about staying at my school that I'd gone to for secondary, where I'm doing history there, and it was, I can't remember quite what they did for history, but it was, you know, it was an all-girls school that I was coming from. So it was like general history, and I think they had a module or two that was maybe a bit more female focused. And we went to the sixth form I ended up going to tour the history department, and their history curriculum was all entirely like war, men. This is moving to an all-boys school, right? So like there is that. But but girls could attend in the sixth form. And my mum says to the history teacher, like, your history curriculum is entirely male focused. And he goes, yes. So this is still alive and well today. This is still alive and well today. I think there was probably a war category that's, you know, arguably quite male focused at my you know, all girls school, but like there is no at the all boys school where girls can attend and probably make up half of that history class. You know, there's no endeavour to show women in history. Like, I think it's incredibly important. So, and I love learning more. Sorry, I know I'm yapping. Let me wrap this shit up. I love learning more about Janie, my girl. There is a part in this where she kind of like derides people wanting to call Frances Burney Fanny and like how it infantilizes her, but Janie's just my best friend. You know what I mean? That's why I call her Janie. I love learning more about Jane Austen. I think I feel quite protective over Jane Austen. And I was thinking about it last night, like I did a crafting night with my patrons. I was thinking about why. And I think I feel quite sad about Jane Austen that she died so young and we only got, you know, I think it's like 6 novels. And how amazing would it have been if we could have got more, and how she didn't really get to see success in her lifetime, or you know, she had no idea that her books would be viewed like they are now. They were kind of moderate successes. She wasn't one of the greatest authors of our lifetime in her lifetime. And so that makes me quite sad. And so I feel a real love, like a deep love for Jane Austen, okay? Like, I love her. Pride and Prejudice is one of the greatest books ever written. And so just learning more about the female authors she loved is fascinating. So anyways, I'm gonna go keep reading. I might check in with you again, I might not. I might just lock in and become even more obsessed with this book, but it's pretty great. It's pretty great. So I finished Jane Austen's bookshelf. And I went into the live show last night, my live show for my book club, going, it's a 4.5 or a 5. It's a 4.5 or a 5. I left going, in what world would I not give this a 5? Excuse me. I just needed to talk about it for a bit. And then I came to the correct conclusion. I'm giving it 5 stars. It is my first 5-star of the year. I loved it. I loved it so much. It was amazing. I think I spent a lot of this book overthinking it because I haven't given out a 5-star this year, so I feel like my first 5-star has to be incredible. And so I just felt I think I was overthinking it. Anyways, I loved every second of this. I cannot recommend this book enough, especially if you're a Jane Austen fan. Learning about all these women and their stories was just so incredible. We learned, I think it's about 8 women, so we spend a lot of time with them. And she does such a wonderful job of she's weaving so many things together in this book. We learn about these women's personal lives. We learn about the synopses of their books. We learn about Rebecca Romney's, experience reading their books and her kind of reviewing her opinion on them. And we learn about her experience trying to find these books and her experience in the rare book world and her job and how she does her job. Oh, I loved it. It weaves all those things together in such an accomplished way, and I just can't wait. I'd love to read from these women. I'd love to try and do a project where I read something from each of these women. Maybe not Hannah More. She was the ultra-religious one. I think I'm okay with not reading from Hannah More because Rebecca's didn't have the best time with that one. I think all the others I would really love to read. We were talking on the live show last night. I think a lot of us want to read the Mysteries of Adolfo? Something of Adolfo. That one's by Anne Radcliffe. And Anne Radcliffe was kind of one of the progenitors of the Gothic novel. And I find that so interesting. There were so many interesting little moments in this, talking about how everything that was kind of genre fiction at the time was viewed as a romance. Everything was called romances that was genre, sci-fi would be a romance. And so part of me wonders, is that where viewing Wuthering Heights as a romance romance comes from? I don't know, I have little theories about that because Wuthering Heights is not a romance. It's a gothic book, it's not a romance. But yeah, it's a book that loves books, it's a book that loves Jane Austen, and like I was saying before, I don't have a ton more to say because I know I yapped a lot in that clip. It made me feel closer to Janie, it made me feel closer to her, it made me learn more about her and the world that she was existing in. And there's so many untruths about her being painted as like the first female author or whatever. It was actually very common at this time. I learned in my journalism degree, we had one lesson on like literature and kind of, you know, from the birth of the printing press onwards, about how at this point it was actually very common for women to be authors. And then it was kind of like the era of Charles Dickens onwards, it became like a masculine profession that only clever men could do for a while. But at this point it was pretty common for women to be authors. So I just had a great time and everyone else had a great time reading it. We love women. I love learning about women. So I obviously do think this should have won the historiography. There's a cat fur in the air. Dida, how is your fur just in the air? Like, what? Obviously, I do think this should have won. I think it's an amazing book. How to Kill, which is not a bad book though. But I do wish this would have won. I would have loved a Jane Austen book to have won a Goodreads Choice Awards. Well, I guess not a Jane Austen book, but you know, a non-fiction themed on Jane Austen. I can't recommend this enough, guys. I think you all need to go pick this up. It was by far our most successful book club pick that we have ever had. Everyone loved it. Everyone gave it between a 4 and a 5. So yeah, I think I might start fake skating next for like a little bit of a palate cleanser. I feel like I need a bit of a palate cleanser. I've been doing like a lot of reading that is a bit dense with the non-fiction, and so I feel like I want something light, quick and fun. So I think let's get into that one next. So I said fake skating was going to be a quick, easy read. I read it for 4 days. What is going on? What is wrong with me? Yeah, I read this for 4 days. I'm giving this 3.5 stars. It was perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable, pleasant, but you're not going to catch me screaming from the rooftops about it like I would like an Ali or an Abby. You know what I mean? When I started this, I read the first, I think, 60, 80 pages on a reading experience of my patrons, and in those 80 pages I was like, oh my god, I might really enjoy this. I'm really enjoying this so far. And then I just don't really think where the plot went did anything for me. So we're meeting two characters who were kind of childhood best friends, childhood sweethearts. He lives in the hometown that her mother grew up in, so she'd like visit for summers and stuff, but then she moves there, and they both kind of are excited and nervous to see each other, but also have a reason, each of them, that they kind of don't trust each other or feel wronged by the other person. There's a bit of miscommunication around that. And I will say that element didn't cause a problem until it caused a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, that element felt like it was just there to come in at the end. And the way that they sometimes acted towards each other, I didn't feel like they would act towards each other if they actually had these feelings about what happened in the past. But anyway. And it's called fake skating. You may realise, oh my god, it's gonna be fake dating. I didn't realise that until I read it in the synopsis.
That alone tells you how stupid you are.
I didn't clock the connection. They fake date to kind of help his image because he's like a young star high school hockey player, but he's been in a bit of trouble and she's the granddaughter of a really famous hockey player, and if they date, then it'll look good to the people, the scouts, basically. In the first opener, I was like, okay, I understand why Lynn Painter is that girly for the YA romance readers. I'm enjoying the setup, I'm enjoying these characters, and that kind of still is true. But I just don't think a lot happened. I don't think it really went many places, and I fear as I went on, the cringe got to me. I think when it was more just them meeting and hee and being silly, it was fine. But when we got into like the romantic elements, he'd be like, Danny girl. And some of that is on me. I listened to the audiobook, right? And I don't think I usually listen to romance audiobooks. I've just remembered that fact. I don't like hearing people say the things in romance books. If it's in my head, it's fine. So that is on me, but I can't. When it was particularly him, like the man, I just don't think men should be anywhere near. Or he'd be like, holy shit balls. Yeah, I didn't like the male audiobook narrator, but it was fine. I had an enjoyable time when reading it. I don't think it's memorable. I think I'll probably pass it along to someone else, maybe, for them to give it a go. But I liked the hockey element. I've never really read a hockey romance. Obviously, Heated Rivalry is big. I've kept saying to people that I'm going to either start watching Heated Rivalry or read the series because I feel like I'm missing out on a real cultural moment here. But I'm down to read more hockey romance. I'm down to expand my romance repertoire a bit. Those of you who've been here a long time will know that I basically just read Ali Hazelwood, Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry. And I'm Talia Hibbert, but Talia Hibbert hasn't published an adult romance in forever, but I do love Talia Hibbert as well. So with romance, I tend to just have authors I trust and come back to them, and I want to like add one or two to the roster. So if anyone has any romance authors they think that I would enjoy and maybe try, like would I enjoy an Elsie Silver? Would I enjoy an Anna Huang? Would I enjoy, I don't know who else there is. Josie something? I don't know, romance authors. Yeah, let me know if there's anyone I should expand the repertoire with. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed a lot about this. She has like a storyline with her dad and a really difficult relationship with her dad that I thought was really interesting. And at times you want to scream at her because I feel like she's letting her dad get away with way too much. But at the end of the day, he's her dad and she loves him and wants to like be around him. I liked a lot of our side characters, but I just wanted more from it. You know, so do I think this deserved to win? It was fine. I think, I don't know what book in this category I could have read. I guess there were some mysteries in this category, so maybe I would have enjoyed one of them a bit more, but YA these days, I can't remember the last YA book I gave 5 stars. There must have been one in the last couple years, but really I don't tend to anymore. So this just wasn't for me. I have heard some people had issues with the swearing in this, or like how heated it gets. They only have a kiss, right? Ali Hazelwood did a whole sex scene-ish, kind of. I think it was Fade to Black, but the characters had sex in her YA book, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. They only kiss, but it gets a bit heated. But like, at the end of the day, teenagers swear a fuck ton. I know I did. And teenagers are horny. I know I was. No.
I am really uncomfortable right now, and I'm feeling like I want to get up and leave.
So I don't really have a problem with that in YA. I feel like it was done in a way that was age appropriate for you to read, for like a 14-year-old to read. I wouldn't have any problem with it. I was reading Twilight in year 4, so I was reading Breaking Dawn in year 4. So who am I to talk? Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I'm now gonna start today. I now need to read our last 2 books fairly quickly. I spent way too long on this. Today, I want to get at least halfway through and hopefully check in with you again. My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I'm very excited about this. I've loved Fredrik Backman in the past. I loved Beartown, and I've read a few of the others, I think, but that was long ago. Beartown, I think, is the only Fredrik Backman I've read recently, but I've heard so many good things about this. This is so many people's favourite book of the year last year, so I can't wait to see what I think. But yeah, I have a few tasks to do, so I'm gonna get the audiobook for this. I think people have recommended the audiobook for me for this. I'm gonna do some tasks. I'm gonna clean my makeup brushes because I don't think I've cleaned them in a year. And then I will sit down on the sofa and hopefully read a really good chunk of that. So yeah, I'm super excited. Good evening, friends. I feel like I'm coming down with something. I feel unwell and I'm very tired. It's quite late. Well, it's like 9:30. Bedtime. But I want to talk to you about My Friends before I head up to bed. Let me get cozy. Hang on. Sorry, I've just realised it's really dark in here. Hopefully the camera shutter speed isn't too distracting. Okay, I am 150 pages in, so I'm a little bit less than halfway in. I think this is the type of book that you don't want to know too much going into it. I think you really don't want to know a lot of the plot. But basically, we meet Louisa, who is a young girl. Louisa has lived a very tough life, but what has gotten her through is this painting that she is obsessed with. At the start of the book, she meets the artist of that painting, but he is very ill, and he passes away, basically. And it ends up with her going on this journey with a very close friend of his, and he is telling her the story of their life, right? Of their friendship group, of everything that they meant to each other. And my stance in these first 150 pages is, Deidre is distracting. I'm really enjoying it. It is a beautifully written book. There have been lines that take your breath away, right? There are little moments. There was something about like a line where it says like, over the years, like, you know, our mouth droops and the smile gets further away, or something like that. It was said much more better than that. And just like little moments about humanity and about life again that just take your breath away, that are truly some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read. And that is something that Fredrik Backman, you know, is kind of known for and always has going for him. But am I reading this and thinking, oh my god, this is a life-changing book, I'm so emotionally invested in these characters, no. And that's how I feel a lot of the people who talk about it and love it talk about it. I'm not making sense. It's like, like people who love this book act as if it's a life-changing, best book they've ever written. Like the characters, have never cared more deeply about characters. I don't feel like that yet. And I don't know if I will further into the book. I don't know if I'll get more and more attached to these characters. Right now, I feel like I'm seeing the beauty of it at a remove, which isn't where I want to be. At the moment, I'm feeling like a 4, like a very strong 4. Beautifully written book, but I feel like this is the kind of book that if you love it, it reaches out and grabs your heart in its hand and like squeezes. And like you are completely attached and enamored with this book. I'm not feeling like that yet. I can see objectively everything that's wonderful about it, but I'm not 100% ultra invested. So that's what I have to say. I'm tired. I'm not gonna pretend I have more thoughts. You know, it's beautiful, it's sad, it's melancholic, it's hopeful, it's how beautiful is life, but how cruel is life, all in one go, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that when reading the rest of the book, get that bit more invested, and by the end of the book, I'm coming to sobbing. Like, this book has changed my life, but I'm not quite there yet. We'll see how I feel when I check in next. Hello, everyone. I'm about to come at you with a slightly unpopular opinion. I'm giving My Friends 3.5 stars. I can't believe it either. I don't know what happened. I thought this was gonna be 5 stars. Here's the thing. I think this is a book that you have to connect with, that kind of like cosmic, like undefinable connection you can have with the book in order to love it. I think it's you get it or you don't. Like Legends and Lattes, I love Legends and Lattes with every fibre of my being. There's some people that don't get it, and I think it's a one way or the other kind of thing. And My Friends, I fear I didn't connect with it.
I would like to defend myself, but sadly, that's the truth.
Now, I think part of the problem is kind of split timeline. You are following the same characters, but I just don't love split timelines. They're always like an uphill battle. You know, for me, Bury Our Bodies in the Midnight Soil managed to overcome that. I'm not sure this overcame the split timeline, the split story. I felt it difficult to connect. And the thing is, people love these characters. People adore these characters. I fear I will remember the characters in Fake Skating more than I remember the characters in this. And that's kind of crazy to say. That feels like I'm admitting some like evil secret there, because people love the characters in this, and the Fake Skating characters are just generic YA characters, but nothing that they said really stuck with me. They haven't really stuck with me as characters, and I think a lot of it is me. I will say, if you love the Raven Boys, the group in this, the gang of friends in the past, remind me a lot of the Raven Boys group. Overly reliant on each other, very connected group, like reliant on each other because of the trauma that they've gone through, like really attached. It reminded me a lot of the dynamics in the Raven Boys, so I will say that. But yeah, and I will say, like I say, there was a beautiful writing, a lot of sentences that took my breath away. But when I read the 3-star reviews and people are saying it's like overly saccharine and, you know, just really trying to be poignant without needing to, or actually being so, I can understand why they're saying that. I don't necessarily agree, but there were moments for me where like a 14-year-old would say something that like the philosophers had wished that they'd managed to capture, and you're like, sure, okay, okay. Sometimes the writing style bled into the characters' dialogues in a way that I didn't feel always felt realistic. So I know this is an unpopular opinion. I know everyone loves this book. Crucify me.
I'm being nailed to the cross like Jesus was, and he did nothing wrong. He's Jesus Christ, and he did nothing wrong. He was nailed to the cross. That's how I feel.
I'm sorry about it, you know, but it's my truth. It's my truth. I can see, though, I read the 3-star reviews and I understand why people give that rating. I read the 5-star reviews and I understand why people give that rating, you know? I can see both sides of it, which I think is a unique position to be in. Often with books, you're kind of so in love with it or hate it and you can't understand anyone else's opinion. But in this case, I can basically understand every rating that this book has gotten, you know? So that's where we end up. I do have to apologise. I've been very ill the last couple of days and I haven't got as much reading done as I wanted to. And I haven't read The Compound, and I am ending the vlog here without having read The Compound because I have to get this vlog up today, and I've been working on it for like 3 weeks, and I don't want to go another week working on this vlog, and it's basically all done apart from having read this. I was going to try and read this today, but I read the last 150 pages of that today because I felt a bit better, and it just wasn't all going to happen before Mother's Day festivities this evening. So yeah, I will read this at some point though. It's going on the TBR, obviously I own the book, but I apologise to anyone who was looking forward to my opinion about this. I also just want to remind you all to make sure you go check out June's journey. Again, all the links will be in the description, or you can scan the QR code here, but one of the best phone games for listening to audiobooks and just playing in general. But on the whole, I would say this vlog was pretty successful. I mean, the only 5-star I gave was the one that didn't win. So I don't know how high a praise that is for the Goodreads Choice Awards. But I really enjoyed Burial Bones and Midnight Soul as well. I'd say Burial Bones and Midnight Soul and Jane Austen's Bookshelf were the standouts for me. But obviously these are pretty big books of the year, so please let me know your thoughts on them if you've read any of them. I'm gonna go edit this last clip so I can head out to a Mother's Day dinner. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye!